Goddesses. Welcome. So good to see you.
Hey,
Hi, Alpha.
hello.
Sandra,
Um,
Elizabeth, Joanna, Laura, yay.
Hi.
Welcome. Happy Wednesday. Okay, so I'm so excited. We are here to talk about erotic intelligence today. So if you're here, I'm guessing that this resonates with you in some way. So let's jump in. We're gonna play. So I'm gonna just sort of frame. I want to take you through sort of, let's say, like five different frames around erotic intelligence, what it is, why we might feel connected to it, why we're interested in it, why it serves us. And then we're gonna play around with feeling, uh, feeling why this is truth in our bodies. Okay, so for me, erotic intelligence is kind of like the core base, the framework of the work that I do as a pleasure coach and also as a entrepreneur. Um, Erotic intelligence is not about sex. When we're talking about the value of erotic intelligence, what I'm referring to is how the erotic connects us to our aliveness. Right now, if we take a look at the world, things that are happening in the States, when we look at, I mean, there's the situation in Iran, there's Israel, Palestine, there are those infamous files that are being released. There's a lot of things that are very heavy in the world. For me, right now, more than ever, uh, you I feel like I have to reach for my erotic, and you might feel like the same thing. There's a lot of things that are being projected to us, uh, that are, I think, are intentionally being sort of put out into the collective right now so that we feel disconnected from our erotic. Things are being put out by systems and structures in the world that are really intentionally here to make us feel dense and heavy. What does heaviness do? It makes us feel disconnected. It can make us want to numb out. It can easily turn us off. There's a lot of things where when we wake up and we take a glance, through here on social media platforms where we might just want to go, oh my God, this is horrendous. I feel terrible. I'm out. And we are disconnected from our aliveness. So now more than ever, this is actually uh the best time to be plugging into this, because this is not the time to be numb and disconnected from things that are happening in the world around us. So we want to plug into our aliveness. I feel like this is the greatest rebellion. This is the greatest act of resistance, is to say, no, I'm actually so plugged in. I refuse to let go of my sense of aliveness, my sense of turn on. When we're connected to our aliveness, our body, for us as women, our pleasure is our inner GPS system. It is our path towards, like, our guiding life force forward. When we tap into our erotic, we are connecting with our body and its ability to register truth, to connect to desire. Our desire is what leads us. The desire is like the seed of everything. And all of these things allow us to anchor into our expansion, as well as stay connected to our truth in contraction in real time. So, I think that we could look at this in a global perspective right now. There's a lot of things that could activate contraction. As an entrepreneur, we are constantly being asked to make decisions, take action that could trigger contraction. I know the biggest one that I see with clients all the time is like launching in itself, selling. These are all things that feel vulnerable, scary, no's can come from them, which will trigger contraction. So, as a business owner, we want to stay plugged into our connection to our erotic. So, our erotic intelligence puts us into this place as an empowered and turned on woman Welcome to everyone who's coming in. This is so juicy. But it connects us to pleasure as a leadership tool, pleasure as a capacity expander. It is our decision-making compass. I think we talked about this on one of the other calls, but just like raise your hand, who's familiar with decision burnout, where you're like, oh my God, I have to make one more decision. Perfect, right? Like we can numb out in the amount of decisions that we have to make on the daily, even if they're small decisions. And we can also look at it basically as a power regulator. So this leads us into the core principles of erotic intelligence. The first one being the body knows well before our mind even has a chance to decide. Your nervous system is so directly connected to pleasure. Your nervous system will register, and feel this in your body just when I say the words. It registers between safety. So just for a second, when you hear the word safety, can you feel how your body responds? If it feels safe. And threat. Safety. Threat. Expansion. Or contraction. Something that is in resonance or dissonance. Right? We can feel those just from the language itself. So it feels safety, expansion, and resonance actually long before our mind and our logic even has a chance to catch up. So erotic intelligence is your ability to listen to the first signal before you even have the chance of overriding it. And this also goes back to last week's call that we did, and being able to tell if our system is actually saying like I'm a yes, or oh wait, am I now in my head and trying to override it. And leadership distortion happens when we begin to ignore that first whisper that comes through. And you might, if there's ever been times where you did have to make big decisions, and there's the expansion that comes when we follow our yes versus when we get into our head and come up with these excuses of like, oh, well, I don't think now is the time. I can do this later. We even can sometimes start to question like, when we get caught in that story of, wait, is this a yes or is this no? We kind of go into this limbo and trying to think of the word. We just get disoriented and we can't see the direction forward with clarity. I had a client who was doing this and it was very, oh my gosh, I can't think of the word. But we're just stuck in the decision-making process and we can't take any action that limbo space. So that's the first core principle. The body knows before the mind can even decide. Number 2, pleasure is data. Raise your hand if anyone here, when you first heard this concept of like tapping into your pleasure and you felt like it was just like luxury or indulgence. It's like, wait, I don't deserve to give myself this. This is just something that it could be a time waster. Yeah, Zandra, Ampa, great, right? Like, oh, I can't give myself this. This isn't something, this could not possibly be a leadership tool. Meanwhile, pleasure is not indulgence. It is feedback. When we are connected to our pleasure, it will give us the information about where we are aligned. We can feel, one, our energy is flowing, right? Like when we actually feel like that feeling of, oh, I am in flow. I always kind of refer to it. It's like, wearing the rose-colored glasses. We get into a particular frequency where we can actually see opportunities and things that the goddess and the universe is actually trying to send us, things to allow the expansion. This is often like when we get into situations where the saying, what is the saying? When we look the gift horse in the mouth, right? It's like the goddess is literally giving you something that's for you. And then you're like, wait, no, like we're in our head and this can't be for me. And we talk ourselves out of it. So being able to tell when our energy is flowing, also where something is true. If something feels smart or aligned for you, but your body goes dull, that is information. If something feels risky and scary, but also alive and exciting at the same time, this is information. When we are turned on, our capacity expands and we have the ability to be able to take a look at what we can actually digest what the information is giving us. 3, turn on expands our capacity. This is also sent a bajillion Substacks about this because this is so true. If you haven't caught the Substack articles, let me know. I will send it to you, but they are so valuable because this, and again, in the business element, in the global perspective, this is so important right now, right? So it's where you are turned on in your life, not just in sexuality. Your nervous system has the capacity to widen. It's able to hold more. Again, we can come back to the decision fatigue piece, right? Like when we're like, I just don't know whether I can hold this. And I see this with clients also. This one always makes me giggle, and clients will say, well, I don't know. I don't feel like I can take it on right now, or I just need to get through this thing. And then I'll have the capacity. That's like, for me as a mentor and a coach, that's when we should want the support the most. Because if we are going through transitions, if we're going through changes, if we're like actually going through the thing, we want a space where we can be held accountable to connecting with our pleasure, because those are the things that are going to stretch our capacity. So turn on expands your capacity. Your nervous system can hold more. Your perception will sharpen. This is such a big one. This for me is one of the guiding elements. Like I want my perception on. Your creativity increases, right? Your womb is your pleasure source. It is where we are birthing our sense of creation. So when she is turned on and connected, your creativity will flow. As the creatress, when your turn on is online, your creativity is online, you are going to be able to have the capacity to put your creations, your desires out into the world. You're going to have more to give because your creativity is online. And then also, I always say pleasure is a time expander. Pleasure is an expander period, but a lot of people will feel like time is limited. I don't have enough time to do this. I can't fit this in my schedule. Drop into connecting with your erotic, because time will begin to feel more spacious when you are turned on. So again, it's not this element about trying to be more provocative. That's a fun bonus to it. It's that you're trying to be resourced. You are smart in the sense that I'm going to connect with my pleasure so that I am resourced and capable of holding everything that I'm asking for. So expansion in the body becomes expansion in your reality, as within, so without. This is where we really get to see this. For contraction isn't a no. Contraction is merely a signal. So many women misinterpret contraction. Again, we touched on this in another one of the weekly trainings. There are 2 types. There is contraction that does come from misalignment. So a contraction that is a true no, moving through our body. But then there is also contraction that comes up because we are at a growth edge. This is where it's really exciting, right? Because there is expansion that likely you've asked for because you've planted the seeds of your desires. And now the goddess is sending you the opportunity, but it means that you have to ride that growth edge. So one, pleasure will give you more courage and confidence and bravery to be able to ride the growth edge. So it's more so this contraction is because it's that excitement. When something is exciting and terrifying, you're like, oh, this is actually on my path. I'm feeling contraction because it is my expansion trying to happen. So erotic intelligence, in this case, is the skill of giving us the space to discern the difference between the two. You could see how valuable it is to be able to have that discernment, because one contraction is a clear, this is not your path. The other one is literally inviting you to follow your path. So in this case, this is where your discernment does fall into leadership. And you want to follow that path because part of that expansion will be expanding you into those deeper expressions of your leadership. And then 5 is desire as direction. So this is that piece where desire is the seed, right? It's like we plant the seed. This is why desire lists are so powerful and why we want to come back to them all the time. You know, like, I think on one of these calls, we actually did sit and sat with what our desires were for 2026. Don't let that be your only desire list that you make. You know, like every month I would sit down and re-look at what your desires are. I have another client she just runs in like 3-month cycles. Everything has a 3-month cycle. If you think about it, even with if you're starting a new job, they usually give you like the 90-day training period. So it's at least every 3 months, start a new desire list. What are your business desires? What are your relationship desires? What are your sisterhood desires? All of these are planting seeds. The more desire lists that you have, the more clarity the goddess has of what she's being asked to deliver you. So desire is not frivolous. Again, it is directional. Your desires point you towards and give clarity to the universe on how to deliver these things to you. So pointing you towards your next evolution, towards your next capacity expansion. A lot of you are probably growth oriented. Again, if you're a business owner, you know, we want our business to be in this constant state of scaling. How do we hit this goal? I prefer to call it desire, and then go to the next one. It points you towards your next identity shift. Who are you becoming? So ignoring desire will shrink you. Following desire intelligently builds you. So if we kind of summarize all of this, what is erotic intelligence? This is your body's capacity to register truth through your aliveness. Erotic intelligence looks like your ability to feel expansion and contraction in real time. It is the skill of regulating your nervous system using pleasure. So pleasure really is a tool here. It looks like the wisdom of desire as directional guidance. And it also shows up as a way to be able to discern between fear and misalignment. Fear is reasonable. We all have fears. How do we get to move forward with them or through them instead of shrinking? So it's not about sexuality. It is about your aliveness. It is about your sensitivity. It is about your power and your discernment. And if we look at that, for me, my work also being deeply founded in the priestess lineage, a woman who is connected to her aliveness, her sensitivity, her power, her discernment, that's feminine leadership. That is the empowered feminine. That is how we get to use this power source that we have literally been birthed with. And this is also how we lead through the body. So it's not that, it's not the mind. It is not our logic. It is not our reasoning that is going to expand us. It is when we drop in to the power of our body. This is where leadership begins, when we are connected with our inner feminine. Okay, any questions with any of that before we play around with feeling this in our body? It's so good to see everybody here. Yay. Hey, Katie. Okay. All right, so let's play. We're going to go through 2 practices because I kind of want you to feel how we can play into feeling our yes. We're just going to play with feeling yes and no. We're going to do 1 practice, and I want you to just see what it feels like from a neutral space. And then we're going to bring pleasure in and see what happens when we amplify it with pleasure. So hang on, let me just pull up a soft song. Do I have one here? Okay, so just gently bring your eyes to a close. And just begin to take in a deep breath. Feeling the expansion through that inhale. And feel your body soften through the exhale. Bring one hand to your heart. And let the other hand come to rest on your womb or over pussy. And just take a moment to notice where in your do you feel steady right now? And just take a second to let that. So just allowing yourself to anchor into that groundedness. Take a moment to bring to mind a time where you were making a decision that felt fully aligned. A moment where you knew something was right. When you feel into that, where do you feel the expansion in your body? When you remember that alignment, is there a temperature shift in your body? Maybe there's a breath shift. Softening, a warmth, a widening. So this is your body's yes signature. The invitation here is to clock this, let your body memorize it. Okay, and now bring to mind the time where you had a very clear no. When you knew something wasn't right, wasn't a fit, and you knew it right away. Maybe you said yes anyway, but let yourself feel the no and just notice what comes up in your body. Is there a tightness? Are you holding your breath? Maybe your jaw clenches. You feel a drop in your energy or a numbness. And again, clock this information that this is your body's no signature. Now you're invited to think about a current decision you might be circling with. Don't try to analyze it, just let yourself feel the question that you're sitting with. And just notice in your body, after playing with the yes and the no, does this feel like expansion? Does it feel like contraction? Is there a fear of growth? Or does it feel like misalignment? You're not trying to force anything. You are just looking for the information. Okay. And from here, you can just gently bring your hand over your heart in some circles, hand over pussy, just thanking your body for coming online. And let's just take some reflection. So this was just coming at your decision making from a neutral space. We didn't add any pleasure to this, just from where you were. What did you notice? Go ahead and unmute. Oh yeah,
Yeah,
Katie.
no, I'm on a negative. There was complete collapse in the end. It's like there's just a collapse inward. So
Yeah,
that was, yeah.
great. And that's like that pit drop that just moves through our body, right? When we're like, this is such a no, it doesn't feel good. Um, it's almost like you can feel the frequency dropping in your body. I also love the language that you just chose, like the collapse, because this is what, pay attention when you're talking to other sister goddesses when rupture hits. Um, and again, I notice this with my clients all the time. They'll say, oh, I completely crashed, or oh, I collapsed. And I always say, like, the invitation, because also contraction's not always a bad thing. We ride through, if we look at pleasure, an orgasmic experience, goes from, again, neutral, and it climaxes. Even if we don't hit peak orgasm, the pleasure sensation will still ride up, and then it dips down, right? So we are constantly doing this through life. We're riding the waves. So the dip down doesn't mean that we've completely crashed. It's just sometimes our body might even be saying, well, you just did a really big thing. Let's take a second to refuel and fill up so we can get ready to actually take on the next big thing. So I loved that language that you used, is so resonant for what we feel in our bodies, Katie. Someone else was going to come on mute. I can't, you guys moved on the screen. Anna.
Hi. I felt a big heart opening when I felt the yes in this decision. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay, so I love this connection, like just feeling the heart opening, which again is so big when playing with pleasure, because sacred sexuality, a core element of the practice, is moving our pleasure up to the heart. So it's so huge to be able, like, when our heart is guiding us in the decision, so powerful to be able to see and feel that. Any other sensations?
Um,
Yeah, Agnes.
I feel the expansion in my stomach and also the contraction. It's the same place.
Beautiful. Okay, so same place, just different sensations.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Um, did anybody struggle with being able to have clarity about what they were feeling, whether it was in with their yes or their no? Ampa.
I I have sometimes and it happened problems with my no because of the contraction what you were just saying. Sometimes it's the same sensation when it is like a real no and it is like going to something like this not uncomfortable. So yeah, with my no I get lost sometimes.
Yeah.
With the yes, it was very easy. I had like tingling in my pussy and then it got out and in my head and in my third eye and it was like a line and just radiating. But the no is like messy for me.
Yeah. So, and this is part of the practice where, again, I do think that there is a level of mastery that we hit with it. But that's also where the discernment piece comes in. And so I think that your yes, like the full body yes, that it is a clear feeling is great. That's great information. And you felt it in your body, right? These are just green flags that you are sort of anchoring into into your body so that when you are in this place, you'll have clear discernment. The no takes a little bit of honing because it's like that place of like, okay, what fears are coming up, or does this just feel like a no? I look at in one of my yes practices for this was when I actually think of when I was a yes for the pleasure coaching certification with Regina. I knew it was a yes right away because it checked everything on my desire list. And so I was a yes. My logic did come in. And I remember it was so funny. I actually wanted Regina to tell me I was crazy to be thinking about coming in. So I was looking, it was funny, I was looking for someone else to tell me my no, but I did have a very clear yes. I just had to let it have really the mic and the permission to take up the space. I also had a really clear no recently. Again, it was an invitation to be of support in another program. And it was so interesting because my mentor had asked me directly to my face, and the layout of this container had been given, and it required a lot of travel. And I'd also had, I was just going through the digestion of 2025 and had noticed that when me giving to other people's containers really did impact what I was able to give to my work and to my community. And so there were these no's already in my body. It was like my yes was to really bring back focus to my clients, to my business, and my time. And so it was funny when she had asked, I could feel the no. And I felt it in my, it was such a terrible response that I gave to her at the time because I didn't know what to say because I felt the clarity of the no. And so it was just so interesting in reflection to that, the no that had been present for me. And then it also helped to make my yeses even more clear, right? Like I thought, oh yeah, these are my yeses for 2026, which was funny. It spun me right back. I still wanted, I realized I actually wanted support because my desires for 2026 were so big. And it was so funny. I'd gone to a girlfriend who has, she has made 6.5, probably close to 7 million in her business at this point. And I thought I want to learn from this year's focus for me as business. And so that's my yes. And she had a program that I hadn't even thought about. And I came to her and I said, oh my gosh, it wasn't until this moment that I realized this is something I want. And I thought that it was too late to jump into this round of her business program she was running. And I told her, and then she said, I could sneak you in. And I felt that contraction because in my head, I had made it up like, oh, I just knew I was a yes for the next time she opened it again. And it was like, oh, you could actually sneak me in right now. I wasn't ready for that. So I felt the contraction of, oh, am I going to start making these payments right now? But I had such a clear yes, right? Like, so I had to take myself through that discernment. I felt the contraction of, oh, right, I'm going to have to ride an edge. I'm going to have there's things that feel uncomfortable, but my yes was, I wanted that person to be able to hold me so that I know I can't, this desire of wanting to have $1 million year. I have not done that before. I don't know how to do that. There's a part of me that's like, I don't have the wisdom. I know the wisdom's in my body, but I will be pushed to so many edges. I don't want to do this alone. And so I had to override the logic and the fears that were coming up because my body, that's why I reached out to her, was because my body was like giving me this, yes, this is what you need this year. So, yeah, the discernment between, is this a full body no, or is this just me feeling the discomfort of being called forward to my edge of expansion? And we're going to go through a little practice where we add in pleasure. So this is where, let's see Ampa for that piece with the no, and knowing that there's kind of that divide with our no that can be hard to discern. See if when you add pleasure, how it might feel different. So what I will have you do with this practice is I'm going to invite everybody to stand up, and I'm going to put on a song. And the intention is just to do whatever you can do to begin to generate pleasure in your body. As always, this is not a performative dance. This is not goal-oriented. This is just to begin to hear the music, and how does your body want to move? What does it need to do to begin to feel pleasure in its body, in your body? Okay.
I try to feel it inside, but the fire that we had's all gone. Sometimes I think about why as the sand in the hourglass runs.
You might start with some luscious hip circles.
Keep it in line, maybe I'm just not the one. But you know I would, but you know I would, but you know I would keep it undercover. We could have each other. But you know I would, but you know I would.
You might be called to bring light touch.
You know I'm gonna change.
Your body.
Things just don't stay the same no more, no more. You know I'm gonna break. You know I'm gonna break.
Take breath and send it to your pelvis. As it feels sway through your body. Yes, this is for you. Gorgeous. Invitation is let your body feel good for no reason besides feeling good. Yes. Gorgeous. How do you bring sensation? You might start to feel tingling. Feel that pulse of aliveness. You feel your nervous system starting to soften. Okay, now lock in the sensation. Where in your body do you feel this source of aliveness? Put a hand on that spot and let yourself feel the expanded space. Okay, now bring in your current decision without dropping the pleasure. Hold this decision, move with subtlety. Breathe into your pleasure. So when you bring this decision into your awareness, does your pleasure expand? Or does it dull? Do you feel fear? Does this increase your aliveness? Or does it mute it? Gorgeous. Okay, so stay standing for a second and just let yourself feel the buzz. I'm going to keep the music on in the background. And just see if you can feel the buzz of what you stirred up. And feel how pleasure is this amplifier. And in that buzz, we're going to play, this is that advanced nuance. So only if you did feel that drop. Asking yourself, did it drop because you are expanding? Is there an edge? Is there a stretch? Is there growth? Or does it drop because it isn't true for you? Your body is going to give you the answer. The growth edge contraction can feel slightly electric. That's that aliveness, which you stirred up. Misalignment contraction feels heavy. And like Katie had said, collapsing. What do you feel in your body? And if you felt it, yes, then just let yourself feel the aliveness, feel the expansion. Okay. And again, from your hands, just expressing gratitude into your heart, into your womb, for coming online, for the ways that it communicates with you. Okay, and then let's come back together and let's just do some frames. What are some reflections? What did you notice between the two practices, coming at it from a neutral space versus adding turn on? Anna.
Hi. So it was very interesting that first, without a journal, I considered the no to be expansion edge, and with the turn on, I felt no, it's not that. So, like I felt no, that's not the right thing right now.
And what did you say happened with when you came from the neutral space?
When in the neutral space, I felt like that might be an expansion edge. So I'm just having fear. And with pleasure, I felt no, exactly this kind of maybe something something similar, but this is not for now.
Okay. So you had greater discernment when you added pleasure.
Yes, I felt it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So good. Thank you. Great reflection. Who else wants to share? Katie.
Well,
and then
I struggle with the turn on bit. I can feel expansion in my heart. I can feel it in other parts of my body, but that part of me is shut down and I'm still not able to access that. So I, at the minute, have to trust very much my heart and other parts of my body, because it's not trusting with the turn on at all.
Perfect. Okay, so let's take a look at this. So what I hear you saying is adding turn on still feels difficult because it's hard for you to connect to turn on.
Yeah, very much so.
Perfect. Okay, which is why we also did this practice with from a neutral space, because we can still connect and listen to the wisdom of our body, whether we are turned on or not. Turn on will allow that amplification, right? It does open the channel, but it doesn't mean if you can't connect to pleasure that you can't connect to that guidance. So, and what I would also say, because sometimes I do this too, Katie, I have been judging my pleasure so hard the last week or two. And sometimes we just have to give ourselves a break, because we can always reach for pleasure wherever we're at. There have been times where we've like, maybe, okay, oh, I'm so used to being like a level 10 in pleasure and I don't feel like I'm there. And then we beat ourselves up, which then just turns our turn on down. So your awareness of, okay, I can really feel into my heart space. So right now, and pleasure work is a discipline, because when we aren't connected to it, it's really hard to reach for it. So what I would shine the light on here is there's a strong pleasure sensation that you can connect to in your heart. So even when we did that cue of like, where do you feel the aliveness in your body? Just start like harnessing pleasure into that space. So maybe it's not actually bringing pleasure in from pussy to start with. Maybe it's just focusing on, okay, there's a pleasure sensation for me when I tap into my heart energy. How do you get to nurture and that? Because anytime we reach for pleasure, it does something. And our body goes, okay, yay, we did it. And something expands, right? So it's that is the best thing to do, is what can we do to just reach for something today? And it is like, I do think that these kinds of practices, they develop our mastery. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. It's as I say, there's it's I don't know quite how to describe it at the minute, but it's almost like I don't know how to describe it for the minute, so I'm happy for somebody else to go.
And I will reflect, like, because I was watching everyone to see how they were tapping in, and like, what did it feel like for you? Because you did this really beautiful thing where you were bringing sensation down your arms, and it gave me shivers. Did you get a body response from that?
Not really. See, I'm kind of expecting, I'm trying to copy what other people are doing, but I'm not really getting kind of body feedback from that. I'm sort of wondering what I'm supposed to be feeling, if that makes sense. It sounds stupid.
Well, and sometimes we fake it until we make it. Like,
well,
sometimes it is, I'm going to fake my pleasure and I'm going to do this dance, and you were moving. And my takeaway from what you were saying is, okay, I was moving and I was looking for sensations of like, because we all kind of do that, right? Like, that is what we're asking ourselves when we're connecting, especially in dance. It's like, well, what movement does feel good? Sometimes we don't know. I know.
I think I'm still working that bit out.
So start with like small. I always say to everyone whenever I lead these practices, start in stillness, hear the music, take a couple seconds. And for you, maybe take more than a couple seconds, take 10, 15 seconds to let yourself feel the frequency of the song. And then really let yourself ask your body, like, is it my hips? Oh, maybe it's my shoulders actually want to sway. Oh, maybe it's like this slight movement in my neck.
I don't think I've ever, when it comes to dance, I don't think I've ever really asked my body any of those questions. So it'll be quite interesting to, be very different for me.
Start there. And it's just, we just want a little flicker. It's like, whatever. You could sit through any song, and if like rolling your hair, or sometimes like for me, like a hair whip feels just like this, like feels liberating. So it could just be like, I'm just going to hair whip. I don't know if your neck would love that, to be honest, actually, but
I don't think I've got enough hair for that.
but like find the thing that feels really good. If it's just like, okay, oh, actually, this feels so good in my shoulders. You could do that for a whole song. If it's bringing you pleasure, then it's right. Because it's again, and this is what's so hard is again, as women, we've been taught so much that our pleasure is meant to be performative, that we're supposed to do it for somebody else. So this is the part of like taking it back for ourselves. So yeah, find something. And for me, like just from what you had said, that in that sensation of like being able to feel the open heart energy, like I would start there, right? If there's pleasure sensations, start, like, is it the shoulders? Like when I roll my shoulders, I actually start to feel, it's like, oh, my boobs kind of get a little bit of movement. And then it's like, it opens that heart space. So just explore. I would go and explore there. And
bit of work to do.
yeah, that is this path. There's always, people think also pleasure is frivolous because it's like supposed to be easy, and it's not. It is not easy to be a turned on woman. So we're all here doing the work with you, Katie. Yeah. Okay, Ampa. The no was very clear with pleasure. I loved how my body responded for you. Do you want to share any more around that? Or just
I do it. I tried two different questions, and one I really knew quite clear that it was a no. So it was like a contraction in my solar plexus, like almost nausea, like And then another one was I was not sure. So my body was like acting like they say that like, but in a very fun way while we were dancing. So it was like, yeah, something very new to me. Thank you.
Yay.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to ask Elizaveta because I remember you had your hand up, and then I'll come to you, Elena.
I had a different observation that was like the what I felt was different from a neutral place and the turned on place. And the yes in a neutral place was mainly in my heart area, and in the pleasure space it was in my pussy and the heart area.
Yeah.
And the no was, and I thought about a situation that is like long gone, but like I knew it's a no, so it was easy for me to feel in. And in neutral place, it was just my stomach and like the solar plexus, like like a stone in my stomach. It was very clear. And in the pleasure space, it was the stomach, and my throat was like I'm about to vomit, like this feeling you have when you're like about to vomit. And I didn't have that in the neutral space. So that was an interesting difference.
Yeah, this is such great reflection. And to me, that reflection is like pleasure does, when we bring it in, it does expand the capacity in which our body can communicate, right? It's like, okay, which allows for easier discernment because it's more clear. Okay, I feel it in multiple places in my body. So you can feel what that no is like. Whereas again, if from a neutral space, you just come back to that decision fatigue, right? Like it's like, wait, I have to discern all of these things. Like I don't know. So to be able to turn on and have clearer communication moving through the body helps us to just like not have to sit in that limbo space of like, I don't know, right? To be able to have a clear answer, whether it's yes or no. This is so fun. Elena.
Well, first, I just wanted to thank Katie for saying what she said about, feeling from her heart, and what you were saying about that conversation you guys just had helped me remember this idea of like we think we know what pleasure is. It's supposed to be this like erotic, sexual, whatever we think sex is, or sexual, and that interaction that you guys had just reminded me that, yeah, pleasure can be a lot of things. Like so I was like really conflating like sex, like the not sex, but the sexual, like erotic, that kind of thing with pleasure. Which is okay, but there's so many other kinds of pleasure. So thanks, Katie, because that really helped me remember, right, I don't need to be looking for sexual pleasure specifically. It's also like just the feeling good, and the heart is such a good place to do that. So that was really helpful. So thanks for that.
And just the act of choosing something that is in your pleasure. Like sometimes, again, when I'm like tracking my cycle, and in that luteal phase as I'm coming up to my period, it's actually more in my pleasure. Like I love putting on sparkly things and lingerie, and it's like, because like sometimes like the sexualized elements of the erotic feels really fun and it's good and it does turn you on. But when I'm coming up to my period, I'm like, I actually feel so much more turned on to be in sweatpants and like one of my like button up like plaid shirts. And I would judge it, and I'm like, oh, well, you don't look turned on. So like, this sucks. But if I can go like, no, actually, but that's what's in my pleasure. So I give myself permission to follow my pleasure. Or I'm so naughty. I had, it's a heavy week of coaching calls with my mentor. And we were on a call yesterday, and she had said to one of the other goddesses, who it was kind of like the hot seat coaching. And she said, listen, just take off your shirt and go write the post right now. And the girl was like, no, I would never do that. And I was like, maybe you should. And then I got in my head and I was judging I thought, because I had this question, and really, which was based around like, I don't feel super connected to my turn on right now. And I kind of heard her command to the other woman, and I thought, you know what? I've got my lube right here. And I was like, what would be in my pleasure right now? I'm going to turn off my screen. And I turned off my screen while they were all still just there talking about, and at this point, it was like a question that also wasn't really turning me on. And I thought, I'm going to self-stroke. And I did, to the point of orgasm. Well, everyone was just like talking about business. And then it was so funny. It's like I finished, and then I had just turned my screen back on, and she said like, Meg, do you have any questions today? And I said, I do actually. And I was able to just express the truth, because I didn't really have a question formed. So I found my question. And then after, I was in such a different, I danced, and then I had all of these like sales calls to make that I just didn't want to do because I didn't feel turned on. And I was like, wow, I got so much done. And then the same thing on our coaching call today. And I was like, okay, if I follow my pleasure, again, there's so many things I need to do, and I didn't get my workout in. And so I thought, again, I'm just going to turn off my screen. But today, what my pleasure looks like is putting the trampoline down and doing some of my rebounder workouts while the call was happening. So, one was highly sexualized for pleasure, but the other was that, to get my workout in felt really juicy for me. So it's just whatever. I mean, constantly asking yourself, what is in my pleasure in this moment, is just such a good practice. And just taking those micro actions, like whatever it is. Oh, I'm going to go make myself tea. Oh, I'm going to go dance. Oh, I'm going to send my favorite girlfriend a slutty picture right now, I think. Like it could be so many different things. I'm going to go buy a box of chocolates. So yeah, such a good conversation. Okay. Oh, this was so good. I'm like looking, I don't even know where the last half hour went. So thank you, goddesses, for playing with this. Come into the group thread and just share any other reflections. I had this conversation in one of my groups where it's just so powerful when we go through these, and when we're feeling things, to actually bring them into the thread and be witnessed, because I think there's something that happens in the witnessing piece that really anchors them into our bodies. So, so share your reflections and what came up. Also celebrating any of you who got a clear answer. If you didn't have a clear answer before these practices, Albany's clapping, yes. And with that, let's dance out. I feel like we need to close with some movement. I'm going to put our Turn On song back on. And again, do it for you. Look for that one thing that feels super yummy, whether it looks goofy or not. Just let yourself enjoy it. Love you, babes.
Try to be a good guy, acting like a monster. Nobody knows me better than you. Got no control, make me so, make me so.
Love you, babe. See you next week.
I don't care if I lose it all.